Hello, Barefoot Ginger here. I'm going to try something new. Going to change it up a little bit, some variety. So I have two skeins of the Super Saver, where are we? Super Saver Ombre in the color Coral. I am going to make a hexagon sweater for my friend. I'll be right back. I'll show you what the model is. So here's the sweater. You can see, let me back up a little bit. So you can see there's the hexagon, starts right there, and it goes all the way to the back. So basically it's two hexagon granny squares that you sew together, and then you add length on to make the sweater and the sleeves. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this off because it's the first day of summer, and I'm going to use it as a model. I'm going to lay it right here on getting me started. So yeah, we're gonna crochet, and we're gonna chat because I'm struggling. So let's put one aside and let's get this one. I am a left-handed, so I'm going to bring it in so we can see. I think I need let me just write some measurements down real quick, because I watched this from another crochet tutorial. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Yep, because it's in 24. So we're just increasing these 2 rounds. And then on this one, so these are circles. So at first, it's a little different than a regular granny. A regular granny, you just start out with a square. But this one needs to be a hexagon. So the math is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to do 12 and then increase another 12 to 24. You're going to do 2 double crochet, 1 chain. And then from there is when we start to make the square. No, I lied. We do 1 more round. So we do a total of 2 rounds. So then this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me start with this one where my finger is. 1. Okay, I'm back. I had to do a little bit of math. So, I'm going to kind of pull it in a little bit and gonna actually watch me do the actual granny. So you'll hear me in the background and you'll see me moving around a little bit. So yeah, this is, I have a couple of options. You can make a magic ring, or you can just do the traditional. I still struggle with the magic ring, but so I'm going to just do a traditional right now. And then, but I do my traditionals a little different. So you start with your yarn on the hook, and some chain 3, some chain 4. I don't know that it really makes a difference. That's a chain of 3, and then instead of slip stitching into that to make a ring, I don't do that, you guys. I don't do that. Here's what I do. So I have my chain of 3, I learned this from another YouTuber. So here's my stubby little chain, and all you do is you stick your crochet hook in and you crochet into this, and that essentially makes your magic ring. It also makes it easier, so we're going to do 1 and then a chain. So I need 12 of those. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, some people do it different. I like the center pull. I don't like the flipping and flopping. I don't like having to secure my yarn, especially when I'm working on my lap. I put it in a bag, or like today I'm just setting this on the desk while I'm working on this. So for me, I like the center pull. Why reinvent the wheel? So we have our little baby nubbins here that is turning into something. So I have 4, chain 1, 5, chain 1. So basically what I did, see that opening right there? So basically what I did was, instead of doing the slip stitch, I just yarned over and I started my crocheting in that last chain. And that is going to be easier for me to pull it closed when I'm ready. Plus it looks nicer. It doesn't have all that bulky feel of the chain. I used that chain that I made. Instead of wrapping the yarn around it like you would do a traditional slip stitch, that counted as one of the first double crochets. So what are we on? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I made it around to 12, and it looks like this. See, it's a pretty big opening, but I have my 12. So now what I'm gonna do is bum my elbow. And don't say a naughty word. So in the 3rd chain from the top, you're going to slip stitch. Now, see that tail? Let's watch. We're going to pull that opening, and it closed up so nicely. And then when I am ready to hide my tails, I'll just even pull that just a little bit tighter, but that should be good. This is going to be in your armpit. So it needs to be small, but it doesn't have to be completely closed. All right, so now we're going to start row 2. The other thing I don't like to do is I'm lazy. I like to do the easiest route possible. My elbow still hurts, you guys. That really hurt. So what I like to do is I like to just get right into it. So I haven't figured it out how to do a standing single or a standing double. So I just do a double. I chain 1 and then I just go straight into it. So our next round, so now we have 12, we need to increase this. So we're going to put 2 double crochets in each of those chain spaces. And what this does is this eliminates that bulk of a seam, right? So then I go to the next one and I do 2 more, and this is what I do all the way around. So I'm just going to start crocheting. I'm not going to necessarily do a full-blown tutorial because it's not what I want this to be. It can be kind of a tutorial, but I want it to be more just a crochet and a chit-chat. So I am going to just sit here and crochet while we talk. If you want to watch me crochet, I can move the camera so that you can watch me crochet. I have the camera at a strange angle, so I'm gonna have to move my tripod. Hold on. Okay, so pull out some more. So what did I want to talk about? Because I feel like my videos are doing all right, but they're not as robust as I would like them to be. So I'm just going to crochet, and we'll talk about this granny hexagon as we go, and we're just gonna talk. So I hope this helps. I am a lefty, so I go the other direction. So yes, I am holding. Everything looks backwards. It's backwards to you guys, but it's not backwards to me. I'm the only one in my right mind, being a left-hander. So I go the other direction. My crochet hook is held the opposite way. My mom was the only one who could teach me how to crochet in my family because she was the only other lefty. So I got the benefit of learning how to crochet from my mom. But my sisters had to learn how to crochet from my grandma. And let me tell you about my grandma. My grandma, boy, was she the taskmaster. She was not a teacher, meaning that she didn't have a lot of patience for mistakes and for the learning curve. Crocheting, it looks easy to you guys right now when I'm doing this because I've been crocheting for most of my life, but I'll tell you, it's a talent that you perfect just like anything else. Violin or piano or snowboarding. This is something that takes time. And I spent a lot of years not crocheting because my life was in chaos. So this crochet and chit chat is going to be a combination of a crochet and chit chat, but we're also going to start talking about my next installment of my religious indoctrination. And I think we left off somewhere in Ogden, Utah, on or around 2001. So we had just come back from living in Ohio. My now ex-husband was working at the Columbus airport when 9/11 happened and he lost his employment. So see, I have it done. So that 12 turned into 24 and I have it separated. See that cute little circle? Now we're going to make it into a square. Anyway, and we're going to do that. We're going to start that by slip stitching in the top. And this is when we start working our granny clusters. So I'm making the first half of the corner right now. Oh, I'll just, you know what? I do it differently than most. I don't know. 1, 2, 3. So a granny cluster for a corner consists of 3 double crochet, and it kind of gets a little tight in there. Pull out some more yarn. I usually do this sitting on my lap while I'm watching TV or listening to a podcast. So you have your cluster of 3 double crochet. I only chain 1. Some people will chain 2. I only chain 1. And in that same spot, see right there where my finger is poking out? Can you see my purple fingernail? That's the same spot where we just did 3. You're going to chain 1 or 2, depending on how you do your grannies, back in that same spot. So that same spot is going to have a total of 6. So we're going to do another one. That's 1, 2, 3. And here's how I do my grannies different. So it's going to look a little weird at first because remember we made that V. That's going to be the corner. So then we're going to skip 2 because remember we put 2. So we're going to skip over that and we're going to go into this hole right here. And we're going to do 3. Anyway, so he was working at the Columbus airport and when 9/11 happened, the president created the lovely government agency known today as the TSA, or the Transportation Safety Administration, which on its face is unconstitutional and corrupt. But that's a story for another day. He probably could have gotten a job with the TSA. I don't know that he would have passed the background check, the financial background check, because remember how I said earlier that he didn't take good care of our finances? So this is kind of where this story comes into play of always taking good care of your finances. So what I did was on this one, let me pull the loop out so you can see. Corner, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. You're going to skip the cluster of 2. I don't chain, but you can. Some people do chain. I think it's unnecessary because it creates the same hole regardless of whether you chain or not. It's just how I do it. There's no right or wrong. So I did a granny cluster. A granny cluster is always 3. And then now I'm going to make another corner. But I need a total of 5 corners instead of 4. Normally for a square granny, you're going to do 4. But this one is a hexagon. So I need 5 sides. And eventually I'm going to fold it in half and it's going to look like a T. So we'll get there. So I'm going to chain 1 and 3 more back into that same spot. So what ended up happening was he probably wouldn't have passed the financial background check. But even more important, in order for him to work at the TSA, they were going to do a complete background check on me as well because I was his spouse. So we've got one corner, a cluster, another corner. Now we're starting this one. So basically what happened was they were going to do a full financial on me. And I said no. And that meant not only that they look at our financials, but they have access to check my checking account, even though I'm not an employee there. I would have been the spouse of a government employee, and I would have had to agree to all these ridiculous things. I basically would have had to agree to everything that he agreed to. And I said, no, thank you. I don't want to be part of that. I think I did something wrong. Anyway, we'll see when we get there. So maybe I held him back that time, but I just didn't feel like, I'm not a fan of government intrusion. I'm not an employee of the government. I'm not taking the paycheck. I'm not coming to work. I'm not clocking in. I'm not wearing this stupid uniform. But yet they wanted to treat me because I was married. I would have been married to a government employee. They wanted to run my background and make sure that I guess I wasn't a serial killer or something. And I don't know how a background check can determine whether a person is a serial killer or not, but that's how it goes. So I said, no, you don't have my permission. And I don't know if that upset him. But rights are like muscles. If you don't use them, you lose them. And I didn't feel like giving up my rights to a government, number one, who's not loyal to me, and number two, I don't work for. So they would have checked my financials. They would have checked my criminal history at will. They could have just randomly pulled my jacket at any time. I have 0 criminal record. I've had 1 speeding ticket in the 35 years I've been driving. That's the extent of my criminal record. It doesn't matter. People always say, oh, well, you don't have anything to hide. No, it's less about what I have to hide than what I have to protect. I have to protect my Fourth Amendment. No one's going to protect it for me. So that was kind of my attitude going through this whole thing, was if I would have applied for a job at the TSA, then yes, that would have been a different story. I was just the spouse. So I am not sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, so I said no. He may have been mad at me. He never expressed it. Oh yeah, no, that's right. He never expressed it to me. He simply packed his things into feet and came home. Let everything go to crap. So you can see I'm coming up to 1 corner, 2 corner, 3 corner, 4 corner. I'm working on my 5th corner now. So I'm so excited about making this project, you guys. I have a good friend who she has some, she's such a sweet lady. She has some struggles, and I really try to engage with her and get her out of her house as much as possible. So there's that one. Skip that one. Two. Wait, hold on. I think I did something wrong because I have 1 too many. Okay, this is what I did wrong. This is called frogging. You know why they call it frogging? Because you rip it out and you go rip, 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 rib, rib, ribbit, 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 frog. I didn't invent it. Don't come for me. That's why they call it frogging. Oh, 1 more. Okay. So I've got 2 there. I put it in that one instead of that one. So, all right. So, moving on. So basically, I nixed the government intrusion in my life, and he got defeated because he's a quitter and gave up. That is not something that is typical behavior for people who require control of their family. I'll just say that. Normally what people do is he would have forced me to go through. He would have coerced me, guilted me, all the things into all the things, guilt, coercion, anger that narcissists do. I don't know why he didn't have that reaction. Maybe he knew on some level that it didn't work with me. That looks better. Because then I'm going to put my last cluster right there. That looks so much better. So he didn't poke that bear, as it were. We came back to Utah, and that's kind of when everything started going sideways. Well, it had always been going sideways. Remember my last 2 videos. Refer back to my last 2 videos. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the last granny cluster, and now I'm going to close it up, and this is the pattern. This is what I do for the remainder of my pattern. So I close it up. Now, here's where a lot of crocheters, so isn't that cute? Look at that. So let's just make this nice and tight. So we pull that tight, and we have by the third round of your granny, it's going to kind of look like a house. We have a corner here, we have a corner here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this is where we start, this corner here. Now, some crocheters, and again, there's no right or wrong, you develop your own way. Some would say slip stitch into this corner. You can do that, and sometimes I do that. Or sometimes you don't have to start a granny square in the corner, you guys. You are the master of your own granny square. So what I do is I just start right where I am. So I know that this is a corner, right? So this one's not going to be a corner. So this one I can just pop a regular granny cluster. So I'm going to just do my 3 and keep going. And it might look a little tight at first, a little fiddly, as they say across the pond, but that's okay. So that is the first granny cluster, and now I'm going to move on to my corner. And the corner is always the same. 3 clusters, chain 1, 3 clusters in that same space right there. So off we come back to Utah, and that's kind of when he starts ramping up. Now remember that we are at this point well into his narcissistic behavior, his gaslighting, his turning me against my family, and as far as coercive control, we are on our way. Godspeed, we are going, right? He gets a nothing job at a nothing facility. And when I say nothing job, I don't mean that there are some jobs that are less important than others. I just mean that he got a job that was beneath his station. He could have done better. When we were still living in Brigham City before we moved to Ohio in the mid-90s, he was making close to $40,000 a year. And that's good money for the mid-90s for a guy driving a gravel truck with no formal education other than just a high school education. So that's what he's capable of. And I think this job he took was a minimum wage job. Again, driving a gravel truck. So now we're back to the corner. So you can see I did corner. Now I'm going to do 2. This round there was 1, but we're increasing. And the corners are the increase. So each time this one was 1, this one was 2, the next round will be 3, and so on and so on. And that's how you grow your granny, whether it's a regular granny or a hexagon. So, and I almost did a oopsie. So, I don't really remember. It was some sort of semi-pulling job. I don't remember. I just know that it was the same kind of job, and he was barely making ends meet. He was, I think at that time, he was making, 30 cents a mile, 40 cents a mile maybe. He wasn't getting consistent hours, and I guess there was some issues with his logbooks or whatever. I don't know. But I know that we were always broke. And at this point, I wasn't working. We just moved back and I was getting settled. Doing the religious thing, doing the daughter thing, doing the wife thing, trying to survive. And here's what's important for everyone to remember as you hear all indoctrination stories. See how that's starting to turn out? And you can see the yarn. That's called an ombre. It's not a variegation. It's an ombre. A variegation is small pieces of one color. This is quite the gradation. Dark, light, back to dark, and same with this one. So, anywho, we were struggling. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, so I think it's important for everyone to remember at this point that your intuition is going to tell you something is wrong. My intuition was absolutely, I was not happy. I knew that my marriage didn't look like my parents' marriage. And I'm not saying compare yourself to your family. What I'm saying is, for all the faults my mom and dad have, because they're people, their marriage is peaceful. My dad respects my mom, and I didn't feel like I was getting... Now, you can kind of see, and I know that this is why, so you can see those spaces, right? That's the space where you jump over. And that's the space where you put your yarn to create. And this is why some crocheters will put that chain one to make that space more easy to see. I've been doing this long enough that I can just kind of see that and I know where to put it. But if you're starting out, don't use my tutorial. Because it's not really a tutorial. It's more like, oh, let's get started. But I might do a tutorial later on a different one. But we'll see. Anyway, so this grows as big as I need it to grow. I'll probably need to go get some more yarn, but this will get me started. So this video is at 32. So I can make it a long video or I can make it a short video. I'm going to make it a long video and see what I think. So there's just this intuition that tells you that something is wrong. And that intuition, you can call it what you want. If you are religious, you can call it the light of Christ. You can call it the Holy Spirit. Mormons call it the Holy Ghost, the voice. Other people call it the voice of reason. Whatever you want to call it, women's intuition, whatever you want to call it is fine. We all have it. It's a matter of listening to it. But I had been trained to, so now I think we're going on year 10. Year 9 or year 10. We got married. So I left off there. My camera cut off. Sorry about that. We got married in 1990. So, yeah, year 9 or year 10. I don't math. So, we bounce around from one family to the next. Him not giving me any stability. Kind of keeping me off balance. But looking to the church like he is a stellar human being. Which makes it hard for me to advocate for change when the image he puts out is not the image that I am fussing about, right? So here I am, something's wrong. He's grooming young girls. Right now, at the point in this story, he had started grooming the girls in his primary class. So Mormons call youth under the age of 12 primary. So they go to nursery, or what people call nursery school, from the age of 18 months till the year of their 3rd birthday. And then from there they go to classes. And those classes are called primary. And they're broken up according to age. And then at age 12, they go on to the youth program. And that's called Young Men, Young Women. Because it is. I didn't invent the words. So he had already accepted a calling in the primary because it's a groomer's paradise. And he got released from a calling because he was caught grooming an 8-year-old girl. He was massaging her neck in class. And his words, this is important, you need to know. This is groomer language within a high demand religion. He said he wasn't, he was just trying to get her to relax by massaging the back of her neck. If you can't recognize that that's groomer language 101, this isn't the right video for you. Because that is groomers. That's what groomers do. So he got released, but nothing else happened. You know, our church has a pretty rigorous disciplinary policy, but it's kind of what we refer to in the ex-Mormon community as bishop roulette. What does that mean? Well, you spin the roulette wheel, metaphorically speaking, when you get a new bishop, and you better hope to high heavens. Now look at that. I've been doing, oh, that one has 3. That one only has 2. Oh, my husband's on his way home. You better hope to high heavens that you get a bishop that is understanding. Most bishops go by the book of instructions, the handbook, and occasionally you get one that is understanding. But for the most part, they turn the other cheek. I'm just going to say that. It's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The stories of bishops not doing the right thing in the face of protecting a child are overwhelming. So that's kind of how it was with my story. My husband groomed young girls. He groomed a total of 5. No charges were ever brought. However, it got to the point, I think, where until we moved into the last house we lived in before we got divorced, we they put him in the bishopric. So the bishop has counselors. He has 2. One oversees the primary and one oversees the youth. And yep, you guessed it. You got it. He was the counselor in charge of the primary. Why do high demand religions do this? Why do they fail in a big way to protect children? Now, the part that I kind of glossed over a little bit was the part where he was given a second chance. So look at that now. I'm getting ready to make my final couple clusters in this round. Finish this corner, and then I'll show you what this one looks like. There had been many allegations, and there have been many bishops involved. And not one bishop refused to shut it down. They would send him to counseling. They would take away his temporal recommend. They would send us to couples counseling. Why did I need to be involved in couples counseling? Oh yeah, we went to couples counseling for his problem more than I can count. Because I must have some role to play in his perversion. Otherwise, why would he have a perversion? I'm not joking. That's the overwhelming consensus by most bishops. So look at that. So you can see how it's getting bigger. And then remember how I said it turns into a T. Right now it kind of looks like a little Christmas stocking. See that? But as it gets bigger and bigger, it turns into a T. And this is the sleeve. So that's kind of how it's looking. And so this is what I'm going to work on while we have our crochet chat times. So I am going to leave this one off because the first one, when my camera died, was at 30 minutes, and this one is almost at 7 minutes. YouTube doesn't like longer videos. It takes a long time to upload, and I want to upload this one. But I might not upload this one. I might just start over from here. We'll see. Anyway, what do we think about our crochet tutorials? My husband's on his way home. He just texted me, so I think I am going to keep working on this, and then hopefully I will get this done for the 4th of July, because she's coming up to the cabin, and I want to give this to her as her birthday present. Missed her birthday this year. We get together as a group of friends and celebrate birthdays once a month. So I'm going to do this. It's been real. We'll see if this one, we'll see if people like the crochet and chit chat. So, all right. You're loved. You're worthy. Barefoot Ginger signing off.